Update of where we are at and the measurements and some of the questions we had, and I kind of explained what I did and why I did it. So just really quick, this is 3 inches wide for the moment, and I will trim it. I'll put a sample card in here. You can see when the card is, there's still plenty of play right there. So there should be no issue taking off an eighth here, an eighth here, to bring it down to 2.75. So, and in fact, I might even take off a little bit more than that, just slightly. So the big difference in the measurement is this interior panel. I think in the sketch we did, it was 7 and like 11/16, and I did end up having to trim this, and I'll explain why in just a second. And then same thing with the these gaps right here. I think in the sketches they were about half an inch, or almost half an inch, and that is changed just slightly. So I'll explain why really quick. I'm gonna make this what I call the hard edge. It'll be the edge that needs to be, because you don't want the card sticking out. So if we bind to clip this edge right here, and you can see that right now on this side here, it's level. It's it's flush with each other. When you kind of lay it out, it even goes in back that way more. So if I bring it to a 90-degree angle, that's flush, right? And so when you start to close it though, because the leather is thicker, the interior now wants to bump out just slightly. So I do need to play with that a little bit to see where a good kind of a mid line is, because on a traditional wallet, a traditional wallet has the cash slot, and usually on a traditional wallet you see a little cutout right here, and that's to account for the interior flexing a little bit. Because what happens is, on an interior wallet, since it's shorter, they stitch it, right, so that it's usually in a closed position, and then when you open it, it does this. The cash slot kind of naturally opens up like that. So that's what a traditional wallet's made to do, and it has a little cutout here usually or something, so that the leather's allowed to stretch, and kind of do this kind of TP thing that it's doing. But since this is not traditional, we don't have that cash slot, we don't have that flex play that we would normally have, and the leather is also a little bit thicker. So there needs to be a good midline, and it'll probably require some breaking in. What I usually do when I make my interiors for traditional wallets, to make sure that it's lined up here, is to have a 90-degree bend. And usually a 90-degree bend gives you the right place to glue this down. You can see just right about there, because then when you open it fully, you'll have a little bit of stretch, and when you close it, you won't have too many issues closing it. So yeah, I just need to play with that length just slightly. But anyway, let me show you the part I shaved. So I have a note here for me to keep. But this is the bend, the crease, and from right about here to this way, it's all shaved down. The bend is shaved down just a little bit more than this part, mostly because the bend is not going to have a whole lot of stress on it. I mean, it's going to bend open and close, but it's not going to have the same stress of cards that this panel is going to have. So I wanted to make sure that I didn't thin this part down too much, but it is thinner compared to this part. Okay, so once that's there, that will get stitched to this panel. So this panel, you can see that I formed like a hard line right there, and I did wet it a little bit just recently. But that hard line is where this needs to meet right there. And on the back side, I have this kind of extra piece to reinforce, and what will end up happening potentially is that it will go into slightly into the thicker panel. I don't know if I'm going to keep this. I kind of want to see if it needs that reinforcement, just to add a little bit of reinforcement to it, because this will be glued to this will be glued to this, but I don't know if we'll necessarily need that. But anyway, so that you will see a stitch line right here, because that is what's going to form this pocket for the card to go into, if that makes sense. And right about there. So you will see a stitch line kind of close to the crease line, but not all the way. It's kind of shifting around on me, but it should give you an idea. Right about there. So yeah. Okay. So that part is thinned. This part back. This panel is thinned a little bit, but I tried to leave it reinforced because when you're putting cards in and out, you're gonna be bumping this edge a lot, and I didn't want to thin this a whole lot. So I wanted to kind of have a flush look to it. I'll explain that one in the second piece. So yeah, the thinning begins from this line forward, and then on the last piece, this is also thinned, but it's thinned at a taper. I didn't draw the hard line on this one. But the idea was that if you line this up, that this would be relatively flat. Is what I'm going for. Now, obviously, it's still going to be tiered just slightly. I don't know if you can see that or not. But you see how this panel is kind of sinks into that to kind of make almost like a single piece of leather, right? The thinness of this section gets kind of absorbed into this panel. And I kind of did that to make it more aesthetically pleasing and just more flush. So anyway, this part's still thick. Over here, this part is thicker. It's still tapered. It's still thinned. You probably can't tell by looking at it this way. But it does start off thick here. I shaved it out a little bit, and then it gets thinner. Kind of like a wedge, I guess. So yeah, when they're all formed, you'll see the card slots go in here, and another one in here. And just to show you where this one will be, these two pieces will be stitched together to form this pocket. So there will be no stitching on the outside to adhere the pocket right there. And this piece will get stitched to that. So the pockets will be formed kind of within each other. The only stitching you'll see that's not on your original wallet is the stitch that's right here to form this pocket, this one and this one. You'll see a slight stitching here. I'll use a thinner thread, and then what I will use on the outside, just so it doesn't stand out too much or get in the way. But it's still a strong thread, so don't worry about that. But there'll be a stitch right there to form that pocket. And then once I trim this down, this is 3 inches right now. Once I shave off the necessary 1/4 inch or 1/8 of an inch on each side, I'll end up stitching with a thicker thread all the way around. And same thing over here. I'll do that. Oops. I'll do the decorative stitch right here for the money clip. But anyway, that's kind of where we are. It's not dyed yet. This is all natural tan leather. In case I forgot to mention that. This is all natural tan leather. I will put dye on it. The inside will be tan, and the outside will be a dark Java brown, kind of like my watch band a little bit. Anyway, if you have any questions, let me know. Sorry for the long video, and hopefully that explained where we're at. I will dye it tonight. Once the dye dries and I see how much of it shrinks, I will make more cuts and adjustments to the design. I didn't want to do that right now until I know how much the dye will affect the shrinking process, if that makes sense. Okay. Anyway, shoot me an email or a message if you have any questions. Thanks. Bye.